I'll never forget one time sitting around a campfire in college during my freshman year finals week. We were taking some time away between exams, and so we thought a camping trip would be perfect. That night we made up the fire, and as we sat around the fire, the topic of religion came up. And I'll never forget to this day, my friend Nick spoke up and said his opinion was that he was going to go to heaven because he was a good person. Now, at this point in my life, I was not yet a follower of Jesus. I was raised in the church and knew enough to know that he was saying was categorically false. And perhaps it was the activities that we were engaged in as we sat around the fire, or maybe just my own naive brashness. But I spoke up as one sinner to another and told him just how wrong he was. In fact, I claimed that we were all on the path toward hell because it was never about anything we had done, but rather it was about acceptance or denial of Jesus. See, the mistake that Nick made that night, and the mistake that so many others make, is that they think the point of life and religion or spirituality or whatever it is that you want to call it is to be a good person or be made into a good person. In our passage in Ephesians chapter 2 today, we see the error these folks are making. Jesus did not die on a cross to make bad people good. He died on a cross to make dead people alive. Before the cross, we and all of humanity were headed on the path to destruction. Paul describes that as being spiritually dead. However, through the death and resurrection of Jesus, a new way was made, and now humanity could be saved from the coming disaster. To do so, we needed to be made alive in Christ, and Paul says that happens not through good works or by following the law, but more specifically, you're saved through God's grace and your faith in Jesus as the resurrected Messiah. So your salvation is not because you're a good person. We all fall short on that measure. The question you have to wrestle with is, have I been made alive in Christ? But what if we don't know? Paul again is so good to give us a hint to answer that question. How do we know if we've been made spiritually alive? Well, in verse 10, he mentions that we were made for good works. And it's not that our good works can save us, but in your life, if you have genuinely trusted Jesus by faith, good works, a new way of living, being spiritually alive and following in the footsteps of Jesus are what naturally follows. So here's my challenge for you today. Have you really accepted salvation through faith? Or have you been hoping that something or someone else could check that box for you? If you have received salvation from Jesus, then can you think of some of the tangible ways that your life is now different? And there's evidence of those good works that were meant to follow? Today is a good day to do some spiritual inventory, taking account of where you're at. See how far God has brought you, and remember, He has so much more in store for you.